he looked at life as though it were some sort of an experiment. He's supposed to be the wisest man ever. Realistically, he'd done the dumbest things in the world. He was even dumber than King Saul, who was a donkey herder, or young David, who was a shepherd, herded sheep. Both jobs were considered not to take a lot of intelligence. It wasn't the individuals that were considered dumb, but just a mediocre, dumb, run-of-the-mill, low job. Now, when Solomon was getting to the point of where you would think that he had learned from lessons in the earth, lessons of life, matured, he gets dumber. And he starts worshiping idols. The man started looking at pleasures versus serving. Let's look in Ecclesiastes. That's over there kind of behind Proverbs. Chapter 2. And the screen says 1 to 3, but I cheated and I'm going to 11.
What did you say?
Ecclesiastes, chapter 2, 1 to 11. Says, I thought in my heart, come now, I'll test you with pleasure to find out what's good. But that also proved to be meaningless laughter, I said. Now this is Solomon talking. It's foolish. And what does pleasure accomplish? I tried cheering myself with wine and grace and folly, and my mind still guided me with wisdom. I wanted to see what was worthwhile for men to do under the heaven during a few days of their lives. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself, and I planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit in them. I made reservoirs to water groves, flourishing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had other slaves who were born in my house. I also owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I amassed silver and gold for myself, the treasure of kings and provinces. I acquired men and women singers and a harem as well, the delights of the heart of man. I became greater before than anyone in Jerusalem before me, and all this my wisdom stayed with me. I denied myself nothing that my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my work. And this was the reward for my labor. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, and what I toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, chased after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. Solomon had everything that you could imagine. He was rich, the most famous man in Jerusalem, and he had chased after pleasure. He had chased after the material things, the things of the earth. Solomon was spiritually bankrupt. He had lost his spirit and turned away from God. He was looking in the wrong place for the wrong thing. There was nothing missing. The only thing that Solomon says that he did is that he chased the wind. He could touch it, but he couldn't hold it. How many of us have got back and chased the wind? We chased things that did absolutely no good whatsoever. There was no gain in it, but yet we saw it as something fun to do. We saw it as something that we needed. Somebody asked me the other day, says, how do you do so-and-so, and how do you do this, and how do you do that? I said, it's simple. I said, if I don't need it, God don't send it. And if you put God first, you don't have to worry about anything else. If you're not going to be spiritual bankrupt, if you got your spiritual account up to date, you're not going to be bankrupt. You're going to be overflowing. I just had this crazy assignment in English. English 102, composition literature. And it was a story, not really a story, but it was a play that was written in the late, like around 1495, early 1500s. It was an old Dutch play, and it was rewritten into English. Amazing how they take these stories. There's a character named God. Another character named Angel. One named Death. But the main character in the story is named Every Man. And every man was a lot like Solomon. He had gone through life looking at all the things that he needed, that he thought were important. He never bothered to look over to this person beside him that needed some help and share what he had. He was only worried about himself. You might say he was spiritually bankrupt. And the thing that happened in this story is that God sent this fellow called Death. He said, I'm going to send you down to earth. He said, I want you to go down there and talk to every man. And bring him back up here. It's time for him to die. And every man says, but I'm not ready. Give me some more time. Just a little more time. Death. Death said, no, I don't argue. I'm here to do a job. Well, let me find somebody that can go with me and vouch for the things that I've done. Well, every man's going around to all the different things. He's going to faith and to all of his friends, just anything you can imagine. I can't remember all the names now. But he went to this one character called Good Deeds. Good Deeds said, well, I'll go with you, and I'll talk to God for you. But I've got one problem. I'm so weak that I can't make the trip. And every man says, well, what do I do now? Well, the characters come along, and they take every man to confession. And he repents and is forgiven of his sins. And when he repented, then from the ground up came Good Deeds, who now had more strength because every man had changed from thinking about himself to thinking about God, thinking about others. Now Good Deeds has got the strength to travel with every man. And at the end of the play, Death's called. God sent death. Something everybody's got to face. But you don't face it spiritually bankrupt. Or it'll be like Good Deeds. There'll be nobody to go with you. Nobody's going to be able to go and stand by your side with God. The play closed, it said that every man lay down in the grave and he died. The good deeds crawled into the grave and lay down beside him and died with him. And they went to heaven and were met by an angel and were received in heaven. Now that play was written, or was a Catholic-oriented play. Still, talked about the same God that sends death down here after us. The same death that comes down here for the spiritually bankrupt people. God's going to separate. He's going to separate the obedient followers from the pretenders and the unbelievers. Let's just look over here. I was going to read this other section, but I'm just going to read a couple of verses. Matthew 25, 31 to 46. Save some time. What this is talking about is God separating believers and unbelievers. In this case, he talks about the goats and sheep. So if you want to talk about sheep as the believers, because they're the ones that follow Jesus, right? He's the good shepherd. And the goats are the other guys that are not going anywhere in particular, but maybe left behind. But they're being separated. Now, look at those last 2 or 3 verses here. You know, what God tells them in the end, he says, 45, he will reply, tell you the truth, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. Then they'll go away to eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life. That's the same thing that happened to Solomon, and the same thing that happened to every man. They were spiritually bankrupt. They had put all, everything they had into pleasures, into looking for themselves, into doing things that amounted to pleasure, their riches, their wealth. And yet, somebody next door that needed some help didn't get it. And that's what he's talking about here in this verse 45. Whatever you did not do for one of these, you did not do for me. Here's a good question for you. Everybody pays taxes. And one of the people that does the taxes says, if you get audited, we'll go with you. And if it's our mistake, we'll take care of it. You're not going to get that deal with God. God says, I'm going to audit you one day. Find out if you're spiritually bankrupt, or find out if you're solvent. He said, if you keep your account up to date, because he said, I'm going to check it. Solomon got dumb, went for the pleasures of life. He didn't keep his account up. Every man did the same. He was worried about the things that he could accumulate for himself. And when death came down and said, here I am, every man says, I've got to round up some friends to see what I did. I've got to try to find something that I did right. Question tonight. Is your spiritual account in the red?